Every week I come in here and I say, no, this will be the week that Maz will be back. Is it Labor Day yet? Nope. So no Maz. It is the Baseball Hour Roundtable. Thank God we've got Stu. We've got Milliken. I'm here, McCarthy, and you at 617-779-0985. You know how it goes. We open the phone lines. You call us to talk Red Sox. Big Red Sox weekend this weekend. We'll get into it, Milliken. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm recovering from last night. I did play a little baseball. I don't want to, get too far with it and expose what happened to me. We'll save that for later in the show.
I definitely need to hear about the old-time baseball game that Buck puts on every single year. Milliken was participating. I saw some pictures. I have not seen some videos yet. I know you have two big first pitches coming up in Worcester and at Fenway Park with the Section 10 crew. So we'll break that down a little bit later on in the program. I promise, Milliken, I will get you warmed up for those first pitches. I'll come over. We'll play catch. Be a nice father-son moment. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to this weekend for the Red Sox. It's a big weekend. I don't know if you heard, Milliken. I did so happen to declare the Red Sox dead on Tuesday.
Very 2021-esque. That's the first thing that came to mind, if I'm being honest with you.
It felt normal. Yeah, no, it felt normal
We're
for
back
me
in our
to,
usual roles.
Yes, to be negative about the Red Sox. I've been surprisingly positive about the Red Sox this year. Jimmy Stewart yesterday referred to me as Baseball Barth, which might be the greatest insult I've experienced here in 98.5 The Sports Hub in my 11 years here. But he's not wrong. I've been very positive on the Red Sox this year. If you've listened to the show, you've known it. I've been positive. Until this past week where I said, I've seen enough over the last month. I've seen this bullpen. I've seen this pitching staff. They don't have enough. They're dead. They're out of it. And then they win 2 out of 3 in Houston, and they make me look like an ass, which is not all that difficult an experience, not all that difficult a task to complete. I need to get your update. I stand by it, by the way. I'll explain why I stand by that the Red Sox are dead. But I'll explain how also I can waver on that, too, depending on what happens this weekend. Where do you stand right now with the Red Sox? You feeling better about things? You've actually been more down on the Red Sox this year, Milliken, than me. Are you feeling better about things right now?
Yes, definitely better. I think after the first game of the series, everyone was kind of in the same spot, whereas, another meltdown. There's only so many punches a team can take. We saw in 2022 and 2023, eventually one of those punches becomes the knockout punch for you. But I think what you saw over the final 2 games, really with how they won, the bullpen throwing 8 in, a third inning scoreless, Luis Garcia looking like a big league pitcher again. How refreshing. Hasn't looked like that really since his first outing when he came to the Red Sox. But the reason I look at them and say they're alive right now is look at what's happening around you. The Mariners have completely fallen out of it. Scott Service got fired yesterday, but beyond that, they're now behind the Rays.
They're
the Rays are closer
back.
to you.
They're done. It's over. See you later.
And that 7.5 mark means something because that's how many games the Red Sox were out of the playoffs last year on September 1st and the year before when you go back and check. And right now, we're at August 23rd. The Red Sox are 3.5 games back right now. Still another week, but I think you think to last year's series, that 10-game stretch where it was the Astros, the Dodgers, and then the Astros again. That was the knockout punch that ended your year.
And collapsed. There was the Kyle Bearclaw game in there, and it was over. Yeah, it was over by September 1st.
Exactly. And I think you saw over this stretch here where it was the Orioles, the Astros, and now the D-backs. And the D-backs are standing in front of you, and they have the best winning percentage in all of baseball since the second half started. You're at the end of it. The fact that you're able to split with the Orioles, a team many people view as a World Series contender, the Astros who have pushed themselves into that conversation again, you took 2 out of 3 and they had beaten you 7 times in a row dating back to last year. I can't look at the wild card race and say the Red Sox are dead. Why do the other teams in front of them deserve it? If you want to talk about the Royals, I think there's some, fair points you can make. Their rotation, they're third in all of baseball right now. Their run differential, it's 75 runs better than you. They're actually over 100 plus in the run differential category. But that's when I kind of look at the Twins and I say, why are the Twins getting all this respect? What have they done to deserve any of it? They're fighting through similar things that you are. Joe Ryan will be lucky if he makes it back before the end of the year. Chris Paddock is dealing with the forearm strain. Just look at where the Twins rank. They're 16th in starter ERA, 14th in bullpen ERA, and 6th in OPS. You have a better lineup. You have a better rotation than they've had this year. You go over the last 2 weeks. The Red Sox in starter ERA are 15th in all of baseball. You're seeing, and Eno Saris wrote a great column. I know we've talked about it on this station a few times at this point, but you're seeing Andrew Bailey make these adjustments. Tanner Houck throwing the sinker more. It's been his primary pitch in his last 3 starts. Brian Bayo incorporating the fastball. Even Cooper Criswell in his last start. So you're seeing the rotation get back on track. The offense has been ridiculous, and you added Tristan Casas,
Consistent.
who is, I think going to take them even to another level here. And then the bullpen, where Justin Slayton starts his rehab assignment tonight. Liam Hendricks is now 2 outings into his rehab assignment. I don't care. Say what you will about how bad the bullpen has been, and it has been miserable. There's no other way to frame it. You have an ERA over 6 in the second half. That's the worst in baseball. If you can get to the point where you have Kenley, Chris Martin, Justin Slayton, Liam Hendricks working with that bullpen, plus some combination of Sims, Garcia, and these other guys, you have a shot to compete. I can't say the Twins are this team that you can't match up with because you still have 3 games against them starting September 20th.
So you make a good argument for why the Red Sox will make the playoffs.
It's not even making the playoffs. They're alive. You're declaring them dead, and that's where I have the problem. I'm not going to sit here on my high horse and say, I know the Red Sox are making the playoffs. No, they have a 40% chance. That feels about right.
So the goal should be making the playoffs, and the other day I said they will not make the playoffs. Henceforth, Milliken, they are dead. That's what I meant by that.
No, you're putting the nail in their coffin. You're saying it's done. You don't even have to think about it.
It's done. It's over.
It's within a series, basically.
I predicted they would not make the playoffs the other day. I still stand by that. However, I saw more signs of life. How could you not? And let me tell you this, Milliken, all right? I'll pull the nail out of the coffin if they go 2 out of 3 against Arizona, and the bullpen looks better. Because here's what I did see in that Astros series. The reason I put the nail in on Tuesday, maybe a little prematurely, some would argue.
See, there's the doubt is creeping in.
Of course the doubt's creeping in. The doubt always creeps in, Milliken. Of course the doubt creeps in. I am not going to sit here and pretend that I will to die by a take. Trust me, if I stuck by all my horrible takes, I wouldn't still be doing this.
None of us would.
Of course, you're wrong all the time. Maybe I was wrong on Tuesday. You know why I think maybe I will allow for the fact that I might have been wrong on Tuesday? What I saw from Luis Garcia the other night. That was different. That looked completely different. What were the first 3 pitches that Luis Garcia came out and threw on Wednesday or Tuesday? Sinker, sinker, sinker.
The other part,
essentially his fastball.
Wait, you mean that a pitcher for the Red Sox actually pitched to their strength,
yes,
as opposed to pitching ass backwards?
Correct.
Well, see, I'll push
back.
What
a novel concept! You acquire pitchers and they pitch to their strength instead of throwing junk.
He looked completely different.
My problem with some of the Luis Garcia stuff, especially early on, was that Bailey was making him throw the slider a lot, which his splitter has really been the game changer for him for a large portion of this year.
And as Jen McCaffrey noted, other teams are just sitting on a slider.
Yes, but you look at what's going on, and this is where I think the conversation gets weird, right? You saw the reason he was leaning into so much of the slider for a lot of guys like a Tanner Houck early in the season. And excuse me, sweeper, that's what it's being labeled as now by Baseball Savant. But that was working when these guys didn't have these big workloads, when teams hadn't adjusted and weren't sitting on these breaking balls. You can argue maybe they waited too long to make this change. That's more than fair. But now it's up to Andrew Bailey, and this is where we're going to see him work. Can they make the adjustment? Right now, we're seeing multiple guys make the adjustment.
If you get what you've gotten from the bullpen over the last 5 days, of course, they're not dead. But the declaration came because of what I had seen for a month plus, which was them losing games they should win.
12 blown saves since the start of the second half?
Of course. That's been the biggest issue. This Astros series was the first time really in a long time. I mean, I know they split with the Orioles, but this Astros series was the first time in a long time that I saw this team put away games, win games they should win. You're up late, you win. To do that back-to-back against the Astros, that's impressive. And you have to take note of that. And I'd be an idiot if I came in here and said, okay, well, no, nothing's changed. Of course, nothing's changed. Nothing was different about what I saw in those 2 Astros games. Milliken, Tuesday and Wednesday against the Astros were probably 2 of the best wins this team has had since the All-Star break. Monday was one of the worst because they blew it again. Sims in the 8th, or whatever it was. Jansen comes in the 9th, and, there you go. It's over. And that felt kind of like the end because it's like this is what this bullpen has done. If they take 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks this weekend, no small task. And if the bullpen continues to look better, if the bullpen closes these games, I have no shame. I will pull the nail out.
I like that. More than fair.
You okay with that, Stu? You okay with me going back on my take and being willing to pull the nail out? I'll come in here on Monday and pull the nail out. I promise that to you.
I'm fine with that. I have no issue with that. You have a talk show to do today, and day-to-day opinions can change.
And very well might change by Monday.
And I think one of the
I'm okay with that. I can adjust.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Unlike Andrew Bailey, it took too long.
Flexibility. That's what we need in life. And yes, Andrew Bailey, not exactly Mr. Flexible.
I think with the D-backs, too, why it's going to be such a good test is, the Red Sox are third in OPS in the second half. The D-backs are first. So say what you will about how great the Red Sox offense has been. The D-backs have been at an even crazier level recently. So, yeah, if your bullpen can get the job done against them, it's going to be a major accomplishment. And the reason I'll say, even with the Royals, why I can't sit here and say, just simply because their rotation is that good, I can put them above you. Their upcoming series, Phillies, Guardians, Astros. They're about to go through basically what you did. So, hey, if they go get smacked around for 10 games, that can immediately change the picture in your direction as well.
Which team is the team to focus on? The Royals or the Twins?
Twins.
Which team is more vulnerable? I couldn't agree more. And everybody's saying, Milliken, that, the Royals are about to go through this gauntlet. And they are. Their schedule's about to get tougher. I believe in that team. I believe in Bobby Witt. I believe in that starting rotation in particular. They run. Reagan's is a stud. I mean, they have a better starting rotation than you. And I think pitching is ultimately what gets you to the playoffs, which is why I still don't think the Red Sox are going to make the playoffs, because I just don't know if their pitching is going to hold up. But to your point, Ryan's hurt. Paddock's got an issue right now in Minnesota. That's the team to me that is more vulnerable than the Royals.
And Casey's technically ahead of them, even though they're tied in the wild card standings right now. And say what you will about the Royals, Carlos Correa, he's coming back. He's dealing with, his whole foot injury once again. Byron Buxton, Royce Lewis, that is a roster that goes through a lot of injuries. And, just like that, if one of those guys goes down, I think you can really start to look at the Red Sox as a significant threat and someone who could jump them. But yeah, there's a lot of baseball left here. And when you have 3 games against that team a month from now, let's see how it plays.
This feels a little bit more natural. This feels a little more comfortable. I'm back to where it should be. Milliken is trying to bring me back to the positive side, get me feeling better about the Red Sox. I was negative on them earlier this week. It feels like the world is as it should be. Phone lines open, 617-779-0985. Jimmy Stewart's here, and we got room for you. We continue. Milliken wants to talk about, and why wouldn't you want to talk about, the impact of Tristan Casas since he returned for the Red Sox. We'll do that next, and your phone calls. McCarthy, Milliken, Stu, in for Maz on the Baseball Hour. Let's take some of your phone calls first. Let's go to Danny in the car up first tonight on the Baseball Hour Round Table. What's up, Danny?
Hey, guys. Good to talk to you on the round.
Danny, I'm going to put you on hold because it sounds like your phone's cutting out there. How about Nick in Providence? Nick?
Hey, Matt, thanks. So, yeah, I also declared them dead earlier this week. I've been positive on them this year, too, frankly. I've been saying that they should acquire at the trade deadline and buy and build up and have a chance for October. But what I've seen over the last 2 weeks is enough for me to be down on them. And, frankly, if they don't win these next 3 series, I'm not taking the nail out. They need 7 wins over these next 10 games if they want a chance. Tyler, I agree with you that Minnesota is their best chance to leapfrog. But even still, I don't think that they're beating Kansas City in a series, and they have a couple big series coming up with Baltimore, New York, teams like that. So I just don't think that they have the horses to get all the way there, and nothing's going to change my mind unless they win these next 3 series.
Milliken?
Yeah, I don't know if I get held up on specifically, the next 3 series, right? I think this D-back series, go out. Hopefully you take 2 out of 3 here. I don't even think if you don't take 2 out of 3, as long as you don't fall significantly behind. But the whole reason we kind of been highlighting the Red Sox schedule in the way we have is because what lies ahead. You have 5 games coming up against a Blue Jays team that was selling off pieces at the deadline that you should be able to take care of business against. A Detroit Tigers team that also, what did they do? They sold at the trade deadline. That's another team that's weaker that shouldn't terrify you in any significant way. After that, the Mets, who are similar to you, they're right outside the wild card race. And then you have the White Sox. Then there's the Orioles and Yankees. So you have some room to gain some ground while the Royals have that tough schedule.
To me, it's not necessarily about the schedule, Milliken, and I think sometimes we make a little bit too much of that. Of course,
especially
yes,
in baseball.
Let's acknowledge the fact that the Red Sox did just go through a tough stretch, and you're not going to look as good in tough stretches of the schedule. They're going to head into an easier stretch before it gets tougher again against Baltimore on September 9th. It wasn't necessarily, though, the way they played against good competition or bad competition or anything that got me really concerned about the Red Sox, Milliken. It was the way they lost games. It's not the fact that they lost games. It's not the fact that they lost games in the standings and are now 3.5 back. It's the way they were losing those games because they could not close them out. Now, it speaks to, how kind of ballsy and gutsy they are. They're in just about all of these games. It's why I think they're going to fight all the way to the end. I just don't know if they have enough horses. I don't know if they have enough horses on that pitching staff. You're going to need a lot of good things to break your way. You say Slayton's starting a rehab. What's he going to be like coming off the injury? Liam Hendricks has obviously been a star before. What's he going to look like coming off a significant injury? Can Jansen stay healthy? Can Martin be as good as he's been at times?
He's been back to himself since he came off the IL. We're talking
Agreed.
Last year. We're not talking, even beginning of this year when he was like that 3 ERA guy.
But he's 38, 39 years
he's
old.
On the older side.
There have been ups and downs for Chris Martin this year. I love Chris Martin. Chris Martin's basically been my favorite player on the Red Sox going back for the last 3 or 4 years.
You're an OG Chris Martin when he was in the minor leagues.
I saw Chris Martin pitch 10 years ago. I love Chris Martin. I just don't, again, it's 38, 39 years old. You're asking for a lot of these things to happen. I don't know if they have the horses.
It's fair to question. I think anyone who says, that could happen, it's more than fair. I'm just saying we don't know. And I think you look at Kenley Jansen, would you be surprised if I told you guys all right now he's actually thrown more innings this year than he did last year?
No, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
So that's something else you got to kind of factor in. I will say with Chris Martin, I think the time on the IL will probably be something that benefits you towards the end. I think Justin Slayton was running out of gas before he got hurt. This break here, I think, is going to be something that actually puts you in a good spot here. He should be a fresher version of himself overall. Liam Hendricks, I don't know what he's going to be when he comes back. I'll tell you right now, he's hitting like 95 down there. In his prime, he was hitting 97. But the fact that there's potential solutions on the way to me, that gives me hope. That gives me reason when you're surviving the stretch that everyone thought was either going to kill you or send you away.
Let me put it this way. If the Red Sox make the playoffs, we will look back at these last 2 games against the Astros as the moment that saved the season.
Yeah, you pulled yourself up. Your head was underwater and your hand was above the water. That's what I'd call it. Mm-hmm. You were about to go down. Your hand was somehow grabbing onto stuff and you pulled yourself back up for now.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, the argument you're making, Milliken, if I could just, summarize it, is basically just get this team to September.
Survive.
Survive enough through this stretch and then be within striking distance in the final couple weeks of the season where it becomes a sprint.
Yes.
And if you have the horses at that point, because Slayton's back and he's pitching better and maybe Hendricks is here and he looks like an effective big league reliever and you're within 2 games or whatever it is, like, okay, we're good to go.
I'm not here making some stance like they're making the playoffs. That's not what I'm doing here. All I'm saying is if you declare them dead, I just don't think it's fair when they're 3.5 games out.
All right, well,
if they were 7 games back like they have been on September 1st the last couple of years, it's more than a fair point. When you still have a 3-game series, your bullpen is starting to trend in the right direction here, along with your rotation over the last couple of weeks with one of the best lineups in baseball. You have a shot. You have 5 weeks of baseball here. I can't declare you dead. I can't put a nail in your coffin.
So let's go around the room then. We have a show to do tonight, as somebody would say. Milliken, are they making the playoffs, yes or no?
It's a hard question.
Yes
but
or no,
I'll
Milliken?
I'm answering
Yes or no?
it. I'm not running from it. I'm going to go.
Are you?
No, I'm not. I'm just buying myself
Preamble.
time here. No, I'm going to go with yes. I think they find a way to slip in just barely at the end. I think the Twins crash and burn, but if you told me they missed out by a few games, and we're talking about the games here at the end that basically cost them all these blown saves, would I say that's crazy? No, I think that's what it is when you're 3.5 games back at this point in the season.
Stu?
I like how their pitching is trending up. I'm a yes. They will make the wild card game at the very least.
I'm a no. I do agree the pitching's starting to trend up a little bit. I just don't know if it's going to trend up enough, and I do think we're going to look back at this last month with the 12 blown saves since the All-Star game and say that was the difference between them making the playoffs or missing the playoffs. We do all agree, though, it's going to come down to a couple games.
It's going to be the last week.
The series stretch that it's going to come down to is Monday, September 9th, Section 10 night at Fenway
Thank
Park.
you.
Through the Twin Series, which is Sunday, September 22nd. You've got Baltimore for 3, Yankees for 4, Rays for 3, Twins for 3. That's the deciding series that whether the Red Sox are going to make the postseason or not.
It's a massive stretch, massive 2 weeks of baseball games there. And, to your point, Milliken, like they need to be at their best and at their healthiest entering that stretch. Push off the Tristan Casas thoughts. I know it's important, but we got
Chat me up about his cornrows.
we got people we need to take care of. Andrew in Louisiana. Andrew.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just want to comment on the last caller about not being able to beat the Royals in a series. We just beat them, on the season series, 4 out of 6 games. And the Royals, their next 2 weeks, like you guys are saying, 3 against Philly starting tonight, 4 against Cleveland starting, I think, Monday. A doubleheader on Monday as well. And then 4 against Houston. And Cleveland and Houston are on the road. 14 games in 13 days, no days off for the Royals.
And, yeah, it's a tough stretch. I just believe in their pitching.
But
I do. I believe in that Royals team. I like that Royals team. I think the Twins are the team to focus on.
But even with the Royals, their anchors in that rotation, they're Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha, 2 guys who have broken down year after year that tend to struggle in the second half. And a guy in Seth Lugo who you've smacked up both times you've seen him this year. But that's why I just think both teams are flawed, and you can have plenty of conversations. We'll hype up the pitching. Their lineup's a whole different conversation. It is nowhere on par with what the Red Sox are doing. So I just think second, third, in this last spot outside of the wild card, they're flawed teams here.
No doubt about it. No doubt. Just, I guess I'm old school like this. If you have the team that can pitch or the team that can hit, and we're talking about a 6-week stretch of baseball or whatever it ultimately comes down to here, 35 games, 36 games, give me the team that can pitch. I think the Twins are the team to watch. Matt in Manchester. Matt, you got to turn your radio down.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. I kind of was like the other caller. I just don't. The Royals, they don't scare me. They've played 2 teams over 500 since the All-Star break. Twins and Red Sox. They lost both series. That bullpen is just as bad as the Red Sox. They are brutal. I watch a lot of baseball, and other than that Ursig guy they got from the A's, who's absolute nails, they're not very good. And this next stretch, I wouldn't be surprised by the end of next weekend that the Royals are at least tied or behind the Red Sox.
Ursig has been really good. I'll say that. He's spot on about that. Yeah, I mean, listen, they're flawed too. There's no doubt about it. And, Milliken, the tiebreaker that the Red Sox have over them, massive.
Oh,
massive.
yes. Just like we said, with the Mariners at the time, but they've fallen out of the race. And I'll also add the Royals, one of their big acquisitions, and really the first of the trade deadline season, Hunter Harvey, landed on the IL. So him kind of going down takes away from that Royals bullpen.
Danny in the car. Let's try again. Hey, Danny.
Yeah. Hey, guys. So, normally I call in, complaining, but it's been a fun summer. It's been a fun summer watching the young players. And, back to you guys mentioning Minnesota. Huge series in September. The tiebreaker, huge. And so do I think they're going to get in? I have to say I think they might just miss by a game or two. I'd like to see them get in, though. I'm going to stay positive, and hopefully they get in. And if I may, if you guys can look up the numbers and just rip it off, give 15 seconds on Yoshida. I thought he's been with us 3 years. This is only his second year since he came back from the injury. I didn't have a chance to look it up, but he's tearing the cover off the ball like Rod Carew here for the last 30 games. Last thing, real quick, next year, Story back at short, Rafaela in center, Duran in left, and we got every Brehu and Willier in right. We got Rafi at third. We know who we got Casas at first, and figure out second base over the next year.
And you didn't mention any of the kids, which is something I want to get into. Comments made about Marcelo Mayer and his injury history that I think are interesting and important and strike me as a little bit informed from people that I really trust, the absolute best in the business. The guys who really follow this are starting to talk about Marcelo Mayer and his injury history. What does that mean for the Red Sox going into next year? What does that mean for his stock?
Means I'm owed an apology.
I think you are.
From the people like Milliken and his people who made me question the pick of Mayer.
I believe you asked Jimmy earlier this week if it's time for us to start considering Marcelo Mayer a bust.
Yeah, and I got blood.
Bust is a little crazy.
I got to
here.
spare me.
We're talking about a guy who
I got
was
a passive
tearing up
aggressive
Double A.
spare me.
He was tearing up Double A this year at 21 years old.
Before what happened?
He's dealing with an injury. It still doesn't take away from what he's doing. It's not like he's hitting 250 and barely getting by at 21 years old. No, he's just really become a top 10 prospect in the game on every publication.
So he's got injury problems. He's got an attitude. But I can't question whether he's a bust or not.
Oh, I think we can question. Well, maybe bust is a little too strong. A little too strong.
Hey, if you're going to be a Bear, be a Grizzly, brother.
That's a good take. I don't hate that.
But
all I'm saying is, can you question the ceiling with Marcelo Mayer? And I've been saying this for some time. I think it's more than fair.
There are more things you can question, though, just than the ceiling with Marcelo Mayer. That's what I want to get into.
Good.
We'll do that
Good
next.
job, McCarthy.
Well, a quick update, then right back with you.
fourth time this year that he's missed like 4 or more games with some like a minor thing.
And this is like a skill, like being able to play through injury is something all big leaguers do. I mean, look at Rafael Devers this year. Like he's been performing with a bum shoulder, and I think his knee or something or leg has been bothering him recently, and he's still going out there every day.
And he's insisting on it.
Yeah, and at some point as a player, you have to just be able to go out there, and you might not be 100%, but if you're 95, 90%, if you're that good a player, then you still go out there and perform. And I mean, I'm not there yet, but it's just I'm monitoring the fact that, these little injuries that are a week here, 10 days there, 2 weeks there, just keep cropping up with him because this isn't a one-year thing.
That's Chris Hatfield and Ian Kundle of Sox Prospects on the Sox Prospects podcast. We all know Ian and Chris are the authorities on Red Sox minor league system comings and goings. Like, those guys are tapped in. They know their stuff. And you mentioned this clip to me a little bit earlier on in the week, Milliken, and I gave it a listen tonight, and I thought the exact same thing that you thought. When I start hearing guys as close to it as Ian and Chris are start to question just a little bit Meyer's durability and health and maybe willingness to play through things, my antenna goes up. And I start to say, okay, these guys know their stuff. They follow him. They follow him closer than just about anybody. They obviously, they talk to folks in the organization. They have incredible sources. They do. So my antenna goes up and I say, this is something to watch. Not only the durability thing, but maybe, just maybe, does Marcelo Mayer, is he as willing to play through stuff? And Ian just said it there, and he said it better than I ever could. It's like, part of being a major leaguer is playing through little bumps and bruises. And here's a guy who has struggled in his minor league career to play through bumps and bruises. There have been other injuries that he's had, particularly the shoulder last year, that is more than just a bump and a bruise. Like, there's a difference between being injured and hurt, right? And we say that all the time in sports. And Marcelo Mayer has had a little bit of both in his minor league career. But I worry about this guy. I worry. I don't know if he's going to be a bust, Jimmy Stewart. A bust would imply that he can't play at the big league level. I think he's a big leaguer.
We'll see.
But I don't know if he's going to be a star.
You can't make the big leagues in the tub.
Correct. And you need to play. I worry about his ceiling, but I also worry about his durability. Is this unfair of us, Milliken,
No.
to start to question Marcelo Mayer a little bit? Can you stay on the field? The best ability is availability. And are you willing to stay on the field? That concerns me even more. When I hear Ian and Chris multiple times in that cut referencing playing through things. Like, is he not willing to play through things? Who is this guy? Is he a competitor? Is he Corey Seager? I mean, we were told he's Corey Seager. He better be Corey Seager, Milliken, but you're not going to be Corey Seager if you don't stay on the field. Now, Corey Seager's had trouble staying on the field, too, at times. But who is this guy? It is okay of us to question Marcelo Mayer at every turn. We should question Marcelo Mayer at every turn.
I think Marcelo Mayer would come to you and say, well, what happened to me last year? I played through a majority of the season with that shoulder pain, right? He was out there toughing it out. Mm-hmm. Numbers were going through the floor. It was not very pretty. A lot of people started getting down on him and saying, this guy isn't who we thought he was as a player. The Red Sox missed. He doesn't deserve to be this top 20 prospect in the game that gets all this kind of hype. And he played through it at the time. Now, eventually, he did get shut down. Now, this year, where I would start to question things, because there's been a few different things that have popped up over the course of the year, is he scared of falling back into some of those patterns of a year ago where he said, hey, I pushed through it last time, and what did that do for me? My numbers tanked. I started getting all this criticism. People started looking at me in the organization differently.
Right, my prospect ranking.
Right,
though.
Okay.
How interested is he in his own Baseball America ranking?
That's a fair question, right? And that's some of the stuff, especially when you have a guy in Roman Anthony who's like ascending in front of a lot of our eyes and kind of becoming the big dream everybody has around here. It's, what is Roman Anthony going to be? And I'm not saying this is what it is, but did he start to become a little weird about playing through these injuries after he dealt with some of the ramifications of it last year?
Is he a gamer, Milliken?
From what people have always reported on the guy, he is. He plays hard. He's kind of the guy in the clubhouse, this natural-born leader that rallies and brings guys together. And I'm never going to go away from that. And I think it's a big part of why the Red Sox have marketed him as much as they have. While he's a special player, it's supposed to be this ability from Mayer where everyone just gravitates towards him and wants to be his friend. And he's kind of that de facto leader at every single level he's come across. But I think with where Mayer is right now and where you do question, for the Red Sox to have taken him off the IL, right? He had gone on the 7-day IL originally. You come back, you're working through some stuff. You get this promotion to AAA. Before you even played a game after coming back, you got scratched from the lineup in AA. Then another week goes by, and then now you're back on the IL. Well, clearly either the Red Sox looked at it and said, you're ready to go, and he said, no, I'm not, or there was a setback. And I haven't heard anything of a significant setback. And even the wording from what the Red Sox are saying has been a little different, where if you listen to reporters, he's day-to-day, he's working through it. Chris Clegg, who does some great prospect stuff as well for Sox prospects, says he's hearing that he may not be back at all this year.
And by the way, I think the Red Sox are telling you that Meyer's not going to be back this year or is going to miss significant time because they promoted Christian Campbell to AAA Worcester as well. So, where would Campbell play if Meyer's up? I mean, because you would know this better than me, Milliken. You've got Grissom there. You've got Mydroth there, who, I'm not crazy about, but, is a guy they want playing. Anthony's playing center field. Like, it's crowded in Worcester, and you probably, if Mayer were playing every day, Campbell probably wouldn't be in Worcester. Is that a fair assessment?
Probably not as soon. Maybe you would have saw it for like the last couple weeks of the season, because their outfield is a little bit weird right now. Like, they got Sogard playing a lot out there. They got Jamie Westbrook playing a decent amount of outfield. And Christian Campbell's limited. He's not a guy that, probably would ever play at a right field at Fenway. I don't think he's a center fielder in the big leagues. And he splits most of his time between second, center, a little at short, and a little at third lately. But, I think for Campbell, as soon as it came a little bit quicker because of Mayer landing on the IL.
The Red Sox are telling you he's probably not going to be back, so they promoted the guy behind him because they want to get him at bats at AAA now because Meyer's not getting his at bats. We should be questioning, criticizing, praising, whatever it is, Mayer every single night on this show because the organization has told you that he is the future. So it is totally fair of us to question everything Marcelo Mayer does at AAA. It's totally fair of us to question everything he does at AA. It's fair to say, are you playing through this? Can you stay healthy? All of this stuff I think is very important.
I will say, though, when you kind of look around here, right, do you remember who was drafted after Mayer? We did film a very...
Yeah, Jordan Lawler.
Jordan Lawler.
Yes, so he was part of it. He's dealt with an injury and missed most of this year. Colton Cowser was actually the guy immediately. So if you're talking comps, he's a fine player. I think Wilyer Abreu is better than him already. Henry Davis, who's been a bust. Jack Leiter, who has been a bust. Jackson Jobe...
Wait, a bust for Henry Davis?
Huh?
What, because he can't catch? He has to play the outfield?
Well, he's been optioned multiple times back to AAA now because the bat hasn't stuck at the major league level.
That's me saying I'm sorry I was wrong about Henry Davis.
I think everybody thought Henry Davis would at least hit, but that's what I'm saying here. I still look at Mayer, and maybe if you are a Jordan Lawler guy, you kind of hop on that train and you think he could be better. I think he's another guy who's more floor than ceiling.
What you're saying is you still defend the pick.
I look around there. Is there anyone that I'm sitting there? Maybe you say, hey, Jackson Jobe, I'd go that just because they don't have pitching. But would you trust the Red Sox pitching pipeline to have developed him to this point? He'd probably be a train wreck if we're being honest.
617-779-0985. Real quick, your thoughts on Tristan Casas. We haven't gotten to them yet.
Yeah, I think you're just seeing very quickly what Tristan Casas does for this team. And he's 8 for 23, 348 batting average, 922 OPS with a homer. But more than even just the at-bats, which have been strong, you had Jarren Duran, coming after the game for the people that want to act like he's hated in the clubhouse, saying, this guy's a machine. He missed all this time. He's already back at the big league level. Timing's where it needs to be. And this was after a rough game on Monday where he went 0 for 4. But more importantly, defensively, he has looked excellent.
Yes, he has.
And I think this is where it factors in because people get extremely sensitive when you talk about Ceddanne Raphael's defensive shortstop for some reason.
Who are these people?
I think it's both sides. I really do. The nerd community is so far in the direction that he blows out there.
What's his outs above average shortstop?
I believe it's -8 right now.
So that's such a worthless stat. Ceddanne Raphael is not a -8 player at shortstop. I'm sorry. That kid can field.
And I think where the other side is, people look at him and say, this is the guy that's gone between center field and shortstop this year. He's incredible at what he does. How could you ever doubt his defense? I think it's just somewhere in the middle. Do I think he's perfect at shortstop? I don't. I think you're seeing a guy who, while he played shortstop in the minors, it was never as much as it was in center field. It was a secondary position where he was getting 1 day a week. At shortstop at times where I see the problems, it's throwing, it's double plays, a lot of that stuff that just comes with time and moving back and forth between multiple positions. But as Alex Cora said, he's getting better the more consistent time he spends out there, and you're seeing the improvement happen in front of you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Ceddanne Rafaela is as bad as that number is, but I'll also tell you there's been bumps in the road this year as he's learned the position.
So I think you're spot on about the importance of Casas defensively too. He gives them a bigger target over there. He plays a good first base. He does.
Romy Gonzalez and Dom Smith, who have gone a majority of the time at first base, are 6 feet tall. You know, you go back to just that game against Texas. If Casas is playing first base, you win that game. He's putting his glove up and catching that at his chest. You see what Casas, whether it was the stretch, deep to his right side, some of the picks in the dirt, he's going to go a long way for saving some of those errors. And I think helping someone like Rafaela, it's huge to have him back on this team.
It helps to have a big target, which Tyler Milliken is going to need to find out when he has his first pitches. He got warmed up last night, a great event in the baseball community that I do need to talk to Milliken about. We'll do that next.
Stay tuned for more of the
Milliken gets to go home in a few minutes. Stu gets to go home. Kevin Majori gets to go home. I get to stick around for the next 4 hours. Do a Friday Night Joe show. Kendra Middleton's going to be in tonight from 8 to 10. Looking forward to that. It'll be fun. Of course, we'll do Red Sox all throughout the night. You want to call in 617-779-0985. But one of the best parts of my week is coming in here and sitting next to a legitimate bona fide star in Tyler Milliken, who is throwing out the first pitch in Worcester a week from Saturday.
Correct.
Is throwing out the first pitch at Fenway on September 9th.
Nailed it.
Section 10 night. And you also got to play in the Oldtime baseball game last night. Steve Buckley's Oldtime baseball game in Cambridge, which, how many years have they been doing the Oldtime baseball game? I mean, forever at this point.
I think 94 was when they originally came up with the whole concept and everything like that.
It was on AM 590. Steve Buckley was filling in for Craig Mustard on a 2-hour shift midday. I believe it was 1 to 3. And Buck's like, let's do a pickup baseball game. And he just took calls all for the 2 hours.
There you go. That sounds like fun. And you got to play in this game last night, Milliken. You just sent me the video of your at-bat. Real quick, just talk about the experience and what it's all about. And good eye, Milliken, good eye. I'm going to watch you do this as you talk about your experience.
For all the people who ever wanted to see a nerd and what he looks like playing baseball, it's just about what you expect. But for anyone who's a baseball fan and really cares about the roots of the sport and it's for a great cause at the same time, it's a real baseball game. So for people who think you're just going out there and fooling around, no, you got a lot of guys who are playing college ball, junior college, that are absolutely laying it out on the line. And then you had an idiot like me, my co-host Jared Carabas, Coley, Steve Peralt. We were all out there, our producer Jake, and we just each had an at-bat. We weren't in the field doing anything crazy, but Lou Merloni was also out there, Phil Perry of NBC Sports Boston.
It's a weak-ass cut, Milliken.
It was rough. The timing was horrendous. I'm telling you. I'm going to own it. But we were all in these old classic baseball jerseys. It looked like something out of a movie, in all honesty, and it was a fun night of ball where you had a great turnout. It's under the lights. The game had started at 7, and it was truly one of the coolest things I think I've ever done.
What's the charity? What's the event? Sorry, I shouldn't put you on the spot like that because, I think it's different every year if I do recall. Milliken, that is a weak-ass swing right there. You got to get your legs into it, Milliken.
Listen.
This kid tried to walk you. Have you seen this video, Stu?
I have. Milliken, you got to get that ass in your swing.
I don't have a lot of ass overall if people have ever seen.
But respectfully, because I know I have chunk, you got some chunk. Get that chunk moving forward.
I need to. The mechanics were really bad, but for the cause we were playing for, it was for the Boston home in recognition of people with MS. So a really great cause. But we had gone out there and kind of did our thing. And listen, I got one at bat. They saved me to the 9th inning. I think that's a pretty telling thing about who I am and how they view me. They knew they needed a big hit, and I went up there. I worked a full count.
Yep.
And hey, I made contact. None of my other co-hosts made contact. It was a foul tip back into the catcher's mitt, but I'm counting it. I'm sorry.
No, but Carabas got drilled. He didn't get a chance.
Against Jonathan Papelbon. Pretty ridiculous moment right there.
What was Pap throwing last night? He was throwing smoke.
Whiskey.
Mid-80s. Maybe a little bit of that as well.
I would not get in the box. I would not get in the box against a guy throwing mid-80s if he doesn't know where it's going. And did he know where it was going last night, or was the Carabas thing intentional?
Intentional.
Okay,
that was pure. Like, I want him to feel pain on my behalf. But it was classic Pap. We had people botching double plays in the infield. He's walking over to the second baseman and almost treating him like Bryce Harper back in the day. Like, it was full blown. Like, get these out. Make the play or we're going to have a problem.
Milliken, the last time I played in a pickup baseball game, charity baseball game, it was a charity softball game on the Cape. Bill Lee was pitching. They put me at first base. I made a couple errors, 5. I made a couple errors at first base, and I think after about the 4th one, Bill Lee came over to me and he just kind of put his arm around me and he said, "You're killing me. You're killing me, man." So yeah, that was
Bill Lee could pitch some innings for this Red Sox team. Let me tell you, brother.
I saw him against the Savannah Bananas. Man can still deal. You want to talk about their defense let him down too? He's going to put the ball in play. He's basically, Rich Hill, essentially.
Bill Lee is a major part of my childhood. Is someone who, grew up going to the Rocks game and watching, all those different, night games they had going on. It was him, Oil Can Boyd. Some of my best memories as a child. I was able to watch some Red Sox legends do their thing.
So go watch Milliken, his first pitch in Worcester next weekend, and against to get the Orioles game right on September 9th at Fenway Park, and I'm going to come over to your house, and we're going to play catch, and it's going to be nice, and you're going to go out there, and you're going to throw a strike.
I hope so.
It better be better than that at bat last night. When that kid on the mound, the lefty, spun that curveball in there for a strike, and you look back, you're like, right. It's the way I would have looked too.
Listen, all I'm saying is I'm a reverse splits kind of guy. Most people would think I'd smash lefties. No, I typically go off against a righty.
Jimmy Stewart, thanks a lot for everything. Kevin Majori, much.